We go again. Public prayers will continue this evening. We're at a point in rehousing and detox rehab aftercare that I'm going to focus on that today. And that's what I'll be speaking on here shortly.
You are listening to the Law Enforcement Pirate Radio Network. Radio Free Larry presiding.
You can run, but you can hide.
Radio Free Larry.
All right, here we go. So again, I kind of fumbled through that post. Had some time out there. We know where we post the most. My legs were starting to fall asleep. I had to move on. I don't have one of those soft toilet seats. A little bit of TMI there. And that's the thing. In these communities, there's going to be a ton of TMI. There's TMI everywhere. It's going to be confronting you, especially if they're still getting high. So again, we need people that feel vested. Again, don't go to Delaney Hall. Don't go out in the street and throw fire bombs at the federal building. Find your purpose in caring for the addicted, the former addicted, the recovered. It's really amazing, but it makes sense if you understand a lot of the psychology at play on the street and why people are there. But it's amazing that you have people that are 60 days clean and they're on the street rescuing people, already pointing them towards rehab. And that's what actually helps them succeed because now they're vested. And one guy went back, I guess his name is Chandler, and he rescued his friends off of the street. And now they're with him. And they're working for that guy, Victor, the good boss at a Fresh Start. So again, it doesn't have to be Fresh Start. Of course, in a Native American culture, it'll probably be a little different. So but that template, again, I spoke about that template years ago. Now it's alive. God was able to move it. And it's many places. Well, it's an answer for those communities. And again, when we get into these issues, these political issues, it's designed to fail things. Well, because we need to manage immigration better, because again, these people are aliens. There's a difference. Because that's why some of the addiction is occurring. So you can't have both. And in fact, we were moving a lot more assistance in foreign nations, even under the Biden administration, before this nonsense of over allowing illegal alien. So the only way back to the immigration system we had is to reduce the number of illegal aliens. It's unsustainable. And that's, again, if you care about the people on the street, you will reduce the number of illegal aliens. And of course, some of them are themselves such a thing. So again, I'm not here to give up reality, whether it's give up reality to Republicans or give up reality to Democrats. There is a reality, and that's the truth will set us free is always true. But again, most people don't really care about the truth. So those are the ground rules there. These people that are going to reside there need to be watched, but you can't watch them like a cop. You have to care. The people that you use have to genuinely care. Again, there are people that care, but they don't know how to care. If you get them into those positions, they'll learn how to care. You don't need, it's not caring to throw a firebomb at a federal building, but it's caring to go and be employed as a boots on the ground type of person at a tiny home community where people are allowed to get, quite frankly, let's use the term shit faced. Well, it takes a lot of work, but it's a way to get them somewhere. The police know where they are. The place where they are is going to be kept clean. That's another issue there. It's going to require teams of people, sanitation people, traveling around. Quite frankly, give them maid service. It's just par for the course. Now, again, I explained how we're mammals, and this is part of this idea. We seek a den. It's not weird for a lot of the. I mean, some people that are unhoused and are in tents. There are things that we need to take care of outside of just simply being a mammal. But a lot of people, you throw them in a big room with a bunch of people, and they're in a bunk bed. And again, military, other places have used that model, but again, they've gotten away from it. So we give them that space, that private space. There are women on the street, and they're only there because they never met a man that cared about them, and they've been raped and they've been abused, and that all that psychology is jumbled in their mind. And where do they go? To a tent. Makes sense. It's not hard to figure this out as long as you remove politics. Again, you can't help the addicted person on the street without engaging in ICE, engaging in DEA, engaging in something once you have them in the court system. Again, the idea of not forcing them. Yes, we want that. And when they're in the court system and you say you're going to detox and rehab or you're going to jail, you're doing them a favor. And you tell them that we're not trying to hurt you, but you're going to jail right now. You go to detox rehab and aftercare, and it'll have and you do like a probation with it. Well, some people have to go back in. Right. It's best to do it under certain circumstances, but realistically, we might not be able to, especially somebody that's heading to jail where they have drugs to begin with. So really, for the addicted person that commits a theft or something like that, the worst thing we do is send them to jail because there's drugs there. And they might even be more desperate. We don't know. Maybe they were never in prostitution before. They'll do prostitution there or get, be a prostitute there just for some narcotic. So there's a lot to what's actually happening on the street. And it's not hard to figure out. It's not difficult to manage, but we have to have the right people in place. It's very easy to be jaded. There's going to be a ton of TMI, and TMI can be pretty nasty. So we have people that you have to have people that can realize and visualize the other side of it. Again, and that's the idea of bringing people in that are still using, because we can visualize the other side of it. And they will be able to visualize the other side of it. This guy, Chandler, he says, I was so afraid. I was so afraid to go through detox. But he said it was essentially, he didn't say it was stupid, but essentially it was useless. It held him back. So what they're seeking on the street is some level of community. And again, there's underlying psychological issues that we know about. But the last thing we want to do is pay that money to put them and lock them up for 10 years or 5 years or 2 years or whatever it is. So we get them and we take them to these communities. We give them something. We have to fill their day. Now, if they choose not to, you can't force them. But when they're on the street, again, this guy Chandler took everything that was on the street with, and now they're off the street, recovering and hopefully staying. Most are, I think a couple may have had some issue, but now they have that same community somewhere else. They're like they were like a skateboard community, a lot of more of the skateboarders and all that type of person or type of people. So there are some of the rehabs that run a skateboarding kind of, I wouldn't say extreme sports, but that type of community. Because now they have a community that's clean that keeps them occupied. Again, underlying psychological issues are everywhere. Don't let them think because they're a successful person and they're out there espousing some extreme political ideology that they've succeeded, and they don't, or that they don't have. First, that they succeeded. Second, that they don't have psychological issues. So when we have people of wealth and place, even if they're liberals, again, some liberals are amazingly wealthy. We're not here to play that game again. Influencing the world, they're creating the homeless issue or making it worse. Again, it could be liberal, could be conservative. So they're not winning. And they are our problem. And they do have underlying psychological issues. I believe in this day and age, something's happened where, again, there is a metaphysic environment. And I believe that's caused people, almost everybody, to have some level of psychological issue. But again, when does it become so debilitating? And in fact, if you have a lot of money, it may never become debilitating to the point where it would actually cause any downturn in your life. Again, it probably does, because you could probably have a better life as a better person. We live in an era of a lot of no good deed goes unpunished. So even the people that we have helping people are not good people, or they wouldn't even be there. So a lot of our unhoused people are actually good people. And in religious circles, we would say their minds are possessed. And it's just, again, because of the mismanagement of what that means, people don't understand that that means you're a victim of other people. That has caused your intrinsic spiritual protections to drop below where you could live a better life, or a life not being possessed. We're all possessed to a certain degree. It's just our minds are not our own. The only question is, do you realize that or not realize that? So in these tiny home communities, the people that are managing it day to day are very important, and they should be seen as more important than the governor, the mayor, the CEO. So the important part is observation and communication. There's going to be a day, if you're allowing narcotics use in a tiny home community, somebody's going to overdose. It happens on the street. It's going to happen there. It's not your fault, as long as you run a program that's designed to say, hey, come along with us. You don't have to use. It's almost worse for these people not to be in that situation, because there's a lot of them have an underlying psychological issue that causes panic, causes fear, PTSD, other things. So if I recover, first, my mind's alive. I can think. But what also happens, I go into a room, even a tiny home room, and what am I confronted with? Those thoughts, those experiences, and nothingness. Again, the idea that we go along in a detox process and the participant is working towards a goal. once they receive the goal, once they achieve the goal of rehabilitation, or a certain level of detox and rehab, we get to where the graduation. What happens after graduation? The excitement's over. So we need to keep that excitement going. And Chandler and Vic, the good boss, and all the people that were formerly addicted there are keeping that excitement going by rescuing others. So you see how this model works. Again, and I think even the Salvation Army general, when he created that, I think that was part of what he was doing, creating that community. Well, because if you take them to the tiny home community, and there are going to be people in there that aren't addicted any longer, and they're going to interact. So we have to also be careful that we don't go the other direction. But the idea is to manage like Vic the Good Boss and Chandler and Fresh Start, where the power is to emulate those that are no longer addicted. You see, the peer pressure took them in. Now you take them out, and I wouldn't say peer pressure, but there's going to be a certain level of peer connectivity. Even though you're working in a place like that, again, I use this in corrections, and I used it in law enforcement, and I used it all over the place. You can empathize. If you empathize and you appear to have a vested interest in the humanity of the other person, it goes a long way. Again, it doesn't always work, but it works to a certain degree. I would have people in the prison walk up and tell me stuff in regular conversation, like, and they didn't even say like, "Hey, I'm about to tell you something that you're going to need to write down and turn in to the lieutenant." They would just have a conversation. We talk about hot rods. Next thing I know, they're telling me everything because they know I'm a good person. That I'm not going to abuse the trust, abuse the information. So people that work in, it's very easy to be jaded because TMI is everywhere. TMI also, it comes in bodily fluids and dead bodies and everything else. So that you have to develop a care program. Yeah, all those programs, I forget what they're called. I did a study on them before, but again, I point to the Missouri approach. It's not just for kids anymore. And again, that's part of what they're doing there in the Seattle community. There, I don't agree with the mayor on a lot of things, but we agree that we need to do something there in that tiny home and community. Right. So there's no reason for me not to try to support it and help nurture it and provide some maybe safeguards so it doesn't fail. So it could be some sort of political fodder versus something successful that God ordains in the scriptures. Right. See, the idea is you take them there, and there are people pulling for them, people connected to them, people that care day in and day out, including formerly addicted people. And they say, "Hey, look, it worked for me. I was where you were, and I was so afraid of it. I dreaded that day." Now the problem is, why do they go back? There's a lot of addiction reasoning, but it's the underlying psychology behind the whole thing. Some people spend 30 years in the army. Why? Because they can't just fathom having any other life where they might be alone and have nobody. I had to make choices in my life not to accept corruption and other things with the knowledge that it would probably destroy my life. And there was a chance that I would never be married again, and that happened. Well, because there are criminals out there in government and outside government that will do that to another person, especially if people pay to have it done. And that's not mental illness that I have, it's reality. And it's in every community in the world. Organized crime, racketeering, That's why the Somalis stole all our money that we could have been giving to the homeless and unhoused people to house them. That's how they did it, and that's why they did it. Again, the jury's still out as to whether that was a government managed payment system for racketeering services rendered. Again, it applies to these communities. Don't let somebody say somebody gets in because they're a crook for me. Don't let somebody do that to your tiny home community. You get a spot in the tiny home community because you'll go harass somebody for us. Strong arm. You'll find out where that ICE person lives or that ICE officer lives. Or you'll make a false allegation against that police officer or that, even that, let's say, Democratic Party council member. Or maybe it's real. They isolate the council person. They bring a young lady in that's homeless. She'll get a tiny home if the council member, is compromised, or at least she tries to compromise. Right. It's CIA psychology. It was leaked to the entire nation, at least the criminal nation within our nation. These are the realities of why we have so many homeless people, why we have so many addicted people. The science of destroying people became billionaire technology, millionaire technology. Some people, within a year, they're a millionaire for a contract to destroy a valuable member of our community, possibly a valuable member of the entire globe. Wasn't the United States, it wasn't their jurisdiction per se. It wasn't their territory to destroy the person, because the world. I used this early on in the Marshal Service. I was on loan from the military to the Marshal Service, and they took money to destroy my life and my family. There's no doubt that Nazis are in there, and they've targeted my family for decades. I'm talking almost probably a century. Right. I mean, that'll be a little bit of a reach, but 70 years probably. The same people that probably killed Kennedy. Not hard to figure out. It's written into Project Artichoke. It's written into Operation Midnight Climax. ICE is not your big enemy, I'll tell you that. In fact, that's one of the elements of getting people off the street. This all makes and breaks. And when I say a recovery community, again, a rehousing recovery community. So the people that you hire for these positions may not make a lot of money. But again, you'll train them and they may not need any certifications from outside of, the schooling, out of a high school diploma or something like that. Well, because you're going to need so many people to be involved in the day-to-day operation that, and you're going to expand. I mean, you have big hopes throughout the summer to put, right. You need people that care. That's the bottom line. Once you get people that care, they get actually, and I'm not telling you to hire former addicts. I don't know what you're going to do there. But when you look at Chandler, you look at Vic, you look at some of the Native Americans that are running programs around the reservation. The bottom line is that they care, and that's why it succeeds. And they're willing to have a vested interest, because it's a certain type of person who your success is my success. It isn't like, uh, you know, a trainer training or a coach training a boxer. But you have to win the battle, and then I'm a famous trainer. It's that my investment is that when you succeed, you won. Not that I won, you won. You get to have that life you should have. So you need selfless people, truly selfless, because some people are selfish to the point of being selfish. If you recover from addiction, if you become housed, you won, and that's all there is to it. I don't need to win. Because then when I think about my winning, all of a sudden you did something to my winning. And maybe you don't understand that it's not about me winning. It's not about this program. You have a right to win. You have a right to a whole life. And that's what it's about. Now, again, when Vic the Good Boss runs his stuff, their time is of the essence. He gets these scholarships that are amazing. I mean, the state can't give people generally without a similar type of program that exact. I mean, when they're going to West Palm Beach, you know what the deal is. That's where the rich people go. But again, when we go to the Missouri approach, the better the digs, the better the rehab. The better our facilities are, the more caring we are. And again, there's a mechanism on the planet, a metaphysic that says if you're living in a place like that, even for a month, that you're up now. You have arrived. So it's a balance between private space and community. And I bring up early on. I brought up the Walmart concept. Walmart began years ago. It's not as prevalent, I think, as it was using disabled people as greeters. So, in essence, there's nobody that we rehouse that can't pitch in and feel like they're part of the community. Cleanup, sanitation is going to make or break it. You don't keep those places clean, it's going to be in the news. You don't keep an eye on people and make sure, there's going to be overdose deaths. But if you don't keep an eye on them and there's a large number of overdose deaths, it's going to make it into the news. You have to understand that psychotropic drugs have caused violence and violence at a multiple casualty level. So these are reasons to develop protocol to help people stay alive and not become somebody that has to go to prison. Or in some cases, probably could go to a mental diversion kind of, when the doctor says you're okay, you can come back out again. So again, The Democratic Party needs to get away from saying, "Hey, go to Delaney Hall and protest. Hey, throw a firebomb at a federal building." And you need to say, "Hey, we need people who care here at the tiny village. Volunteer time. If we can, if you can clear them, help clean up here. Help keep it clean." Some of these people aren't going to be able to do that. My leg just got screwed up. I can barely do it. Hoping this leg heals. I was supposed to start spring cleaning. Didn't get to it. So what happens is we expect more from other people than we expect from ourselves. So again, that's the type of person you need that doesn't do that. They expect more from themselves than they do from the other person. But yet we should still expect a progression from narcotics use to non-narcotics use. Expect it because it should happen. It's happened so many times over in a lot of these programs and communities. What do you think Chandler and Vic and all those people in Crash and all those people are doing on Vic the Good Boss and all the other people that are around him? They're going into addicted communities and coaxing them out, but doing it in a caring fashion. I'm a little stricter than Vic because I know the reality of the system. He was on one side of the system, I'm on the other, but of course now he's on our side of the system, right. But in a different NGO type of posture. Well, because it's not better to not do anything, and it's not better to send them to jail. Right. So again, because it is a sensitive thing, you don't want to cause a sensitive or a negative emotion around rehab, because then that could cause a mess too. But what you have to help them understand is, look, we're doing you a favor. This is a positive thing for you. This is not punitive, but we can't let you stay out there until you go to jail for 5 years because you've done, your Honor's got 50 charges. He's been getting over. She's been getting over. 70 strikes and she's out. Right. So again, I know the system. It'll set you up every time. Don't matter who you are. Well, it doesn't set devils up. They let devils have great life. Right. So we have to do something. You have to be vested in their future to the point, not to the point that, hey, it's about me or about us. So a lot of times a parent, that's their motivation. My son, my daughter has a right to a great life. And when it happens, hey, it happened. They got their great life. Now I can relax. But it isn't about, hey, you're ripping your dad off if you don't become the doctor. Although some people do feel that. So again, the right mindset is very important. And again, the tiny home, generally at a certain point, could just simply be a springboard to that better life. And that's what we want. Well, because it's normal to go to work, have a community at work, have a community at home, have a church, have a temple, whatever it is. Now, you have to realize Seattle's going to be fighting a lot of devils that want them to fail, that want them to use drugs, that want them to have 7 piles of excrement in their tiny home. This is what you're going to be dealing with. People want that. They don't feel okay until somebody else fails to that point. Especially if I'm a Republican or a Democrat and I want a Republican to fail or a Democrat to fail. There is going to be a metaphysical will and maybe even an invocation and a curse or invocations and curses for that tiny home community to have narcotics deaths, violent crimes. So, what does that tell you? Well, don't be so anti religious that you don't bring in people that are kind of neutrally moving through it. They should not be proselytizing. But who was using it? Was it Vic? Oh, it was somebody else. I think it's the Joshy dude or something. And they don't understand either. Not even Epic dude from Chihuahua. It was Juan. He doesn't even understand. But he's they do the best that they can. We have to understand and be realistic about the process. We need to bring clergy in, and people like the clergy. Sometimes it's lay people. And what they'll say is, I didn't give it to you, God did. And that's what I told people going back 20 years or so, maybe even more, probably 22, at least 22 years. Right. So again, that's allowable. You're such a nice person. Thank you. Well, I'm a nice person because I have God. And what you receive from me, I am empowered to give you because God exists. And in God's eyes, you deserve it. Yeah, I'm walking back and forth. If you if you hear my feet going wink, 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 wink. That's the only way to keep my knee from locking up right now. If I stand in one place too long, I think that's maybe what caused it for some reason, but I don't understand how that works at this level of discomfort. I have to call Fetterman's office or Wright or whatever it is. I think I got an email and a phone call from Fetterman's office. So probably related to the VA complaint or contractor complaint. The second appointment, I still believe that was still this idea where we made a judgment because you didn't show up to the appointment. I mean, there was no way. I mean, I'll be lucky if I remembered it was that day. I thought it was Saturday. Again, that's because the deep state was stalking me. Again, your mind is not your own. The more trash they project at you, the less less capable you are to find the important stuff in your mind. You can point to physical and psychological factors, and I'll agree with that, but it all still emulates from the metaphysics. Because I can look at two people experiencing the same thing. They could be identical, but the metaphysic is what the difference is. In this particular, I got cameras outside, but in this particular home I'm living in, there's no peephole in the door. Right. I don't think I'm allowed to drill it. Maybe I'll ask them. Oh, you know what I was going to do? That's what I have to do. I was going to set a monitor up next to my doorway. That's what I have to do. So I'll just plug into my camera system, I guess. Again, there's another. Security is important. You're going to need some cameras. So again, don't feel so liberal that you don't protect yourself and protect them and protect the program. This is cutting edge, and it's. I wouldn't say it's an experiment. I believe it will work. You just have to be realistic about the day-to-day operations of a place such as that. So the people are very important. They're very important to take care of. You remind them that you're the most important part of the process. Don't ever think that we lose you in the process. The process doesn't exist without people that work in those areas. It's an unforgiving thing. This is going to be, it's going to require the people that we hire to continually give feedback to the system for changes. But, I don't want people to feel hurried or pushed within their tiny home because what happens then? And they leave. Because again, there is underlying psychological issues, and there's ways to manage that without medication. But it takes time to develop resilience because their brain has to rewire. Chemistry has to alter a little bit. That's why the deep state will come and re-injure their victim. They were just here recently re-injuring me because they can see their victim heal. They're anti-psychology. They're anti-Christ, even though the word Christ doesn't exist. Some follow-on people created that. There's so much more plain words. So you're going to have to go into their places, creating a cleanup schedule. I would say maid service. And again, that could cause an issue for some people that are staying there. So you just need to, again, communication. You need to talk it out. And you can say, it's not about you. It's just about this. We know there's people that are not going to be able to. Okay, yeah, this is how they did it one place I lived. It was in Dallas, an extended stay. He was doing mandatory maid service, I think, once a week. And then after 4 times, well, I said, well, I can clean it myself. He goes, well, I just wanted to go in and look. So she came and she looked a few times. And then he said, forget it. I'm not going to have her do that anymore. But again, you can't do that. So the idea is this: because of what could happen, we need to put this maid service in there. Right? I would do it. Again, when I say maid service, it's not maid service. It's just somebody that helps look, tidy, mop, at least once a week. And again, communication, understanding. Somebody might need it 3 times a week. Somebody might want it 3 times. If they want it 3 times a week, give it to them. I mean, it's a little tiny home. It takes you what? It takes you 5 minutes, right? So again, these are the things when you allow, again, if they weren't using narcotics, it may not be an issue, or it could still be an issue. Well, because if they destroy the tiny home, if a cop comes in there and on his little camera, there's 7 piles of poop in a small tiny home, it's going to be on the news. So again, I recommend that you have, sanitation people, cleanup people, again, the grounds. But what could you also do? You could use functional members of your community again, but you don't, thievery and all that. You got to really be careful. Again, I was in the system, I know what both sides are doing, honestly and dishonestly. I was in corrections, law enforcement, military has some of it too, and then I did struck out on my own, trying to do charity on the streets. Right. So, what will we say? Let me think here. Bring in sanitation services, clean up people. I mean, it's called maid service, right? And play it by ear. Also, one of the best ways, I'm not sure what your surfaces are in those places, but the best way is to paint. You have a crew that every 6 months, every 2 months, they might need to paint the inside or the outside just to keep it up and keep it fresh. Right. And sometimes it's just spot painting. So you want to have on scene, you want to have, gallons of that paint, whatever color it used. I don't know if you're beyond that at this point, but these are the things like tricks of the trade for managers that know how to manage an extended stay. They have people after the cleanup's done for the day, kind of, or sometimes even before, or independently assigned from regular cleanup, as they have people that paint because you're going to get smudges, you're going to get this, you're going to get that. The goal is to keep everything tip top shape for the people that live there, right? And then also for the public when they eye the program. The best regional person, she was she would go out and train people on how to fight the degradation of the extended stay. The best, that's what she would do. She would have people. I tried to tell the other people. I said, look, you're not going to pass the inspection until you assign some of your people to paint periodically. I got down to Texas and the guy failed. The inspection, I said, what you got to do is you got to have people that paint. When they come in and they see that paint, with not a smudge on the wall, but nice new fresh paint, then you'll pass every time. Right. Again, we don't want the things that happen to our public housing program to happen to this program. I mean, the stakes are too high. And the answer is the people. So, was it the addiction that made Chandra like that? Is it addiction that made Crash like that? I'd say no. I'd say they were put there by Satan in those failed lives because they were always those people that cared about other people. So Satan knew who they were and failed their lives. So again, keep it healed. You can pray for it, but why don't you bring some people in? Again, some people are there politically or religiously, which means it's all about the religion. It's not about the people. So you have to be careful. Some people are in spirituality and religion based upon a vested interest in others. Not a sin counter, not a, hey, I saved 50 souls this week. But somebody says, your quality of life is important to me because it's important to God. And of course, important. So it's very important to find the people that fit the program. And I don't think you're going to do it without spiritual people that know how to keep the spirit up. That's within that. So the numbers keep shrinking. First, you got to find people with the right personality, and then you got to find the people, and you have the right constitutional position to God and other creation. But then they have to know how to keep the up and up, 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 up. So again, having that, having people that use drugs in a tiny home community is better than having them lay in excrement down some trail in the dark with broken glass. Right. Because then even for law enforcement, it makes it easier. Plus, we know all their names. We know their histories when we need their histories. It's not to say, hey, I want to know their histories. Right. It's to say if something happens, oh, well, we know this guy and this is this and this is that. And, right. it actually, it's just like the same thing. Like, oh, we should just lock them up in jail and not give them SNAP benefits. No, we don't want to do that. It costs us more money. It doesn't end the problem. Eventually, they get out of jail, and then we got to arrest them again. Right. So again, there's a lot to all of this. All right, I wrote that post the best I could. I'm under the influence of aspirin. It was foreshadowing. I didn't even know it was a Bayer, like it's a what is that? I don't know, distribution center or plant or whatever it is. I live like maybe 10 miles at the most from a Bayer facility. Well, that's what I use. I use the coated Bayer aspirin. I drove past it like probably less than a week ago, or maybe about a week ago. I'm like, oh, look, Bayer. Isn't that what I use? But I don't use it. I came off all my aspirin. Now I'm back on it. Knees killing me. Oh, Deep State came around and cursed me. Believe me, you'll make a left turn instead of a right turn, get in a car accident because of them. So that's how that affects our life. They curse you, you make the wrong decision. Mm. But then they make another $1,000,000. See, whether it's metaphysical money or physical money, gold bars, untraceable cash money. So your people are really what's going to make and break it. I would do maid service. I just say that again. You don't need a cop come there with his camera on. Besides, they deserve to live in clean places. And you don't need a cop to come along and walk into one of those places and have excrement on the ground. And you don't want to make it again. You don't want to make it, hey, we're inspecting you. Again, you have to understand the people you use are very important. It's about you having a well life. And we know you've had a hard time. It's time for you to relax. We'll take care of this. Once a week, we'll be in here cleaning this place. Right. A lot of people, again, that violates that personal space thing, but say, look, it's just for the benefit of one and all. You may be able to not need us, but other people need us. Now, a lot of times when you bring a broom in or a mop, you use that in another room. And again, there are sanitation issues of cross. If one person has bed bugs, then everybody gets bed bugs. So there's a lot to do there. What do we do to help alleviate the problem of bed bugs? There are things that can be done. But I think now they actually have, because it became such an issue, they actually have a pest control program. A lot of people are funny about pest control. You're going to need pest control. Right. They'll battle you before they actually, because in their mind, they panic. They're worse than Kennedy. You spray bug spray in there, they're going to die tomorrow. And a lot of times what it is Satan will cause the panic attack to be whatever to trigger. And again, CIA knows this, and psychological operators know how to do this to people. But they'll try to connect your panic attack to the pesticide. You're having what you're feeling during the panic attack is pesticide. What you're feeling during the panic attack is the director of this tiny home community. So you need to go now, or attack that person, even worse. Again, being psychic helps me read what they're doing. And of course, we used to call it seers and stuff in the scripture. So I guess we're there. So I'm just a little nervous. I don't want it destroyed, the program destroyed. So we need to make sure it stays up. Right. So yeah, somebody like Vic and Chandler, you could invite people like that and groups like that, and there's some other people also. I'm sure you have them in Portland, but you have to be careful. You want real people. Like, Vic might have opinions about, ICE. He might have opinions about federal agents or whatever it is. But he's not. He's vested in caring for who he's caring for. So they're important to bring in. You don't want to bring in people. Again, you're allowed to be a radical extremist without violence. But when we're trying, we're creating an environment of peace for these people, so that they can relax. And a lot of the panic goes into the background. I think the guy crashed. The crash. I think it's Crash. Was it Crash? I think it was his name. Well, Chandler he walks up to this dumpster, and his buddy's in the dumpster, and he's gone. You can see he's obviously strung out or whatever, and he's talking to him in the dumpster, and I'm thinking, is he actually, is it registering at all? But he did get him in the rehab. Well, Chandler's becoming Satan's mad at Chandler. I'll tell you that. He's becoming a bigger target. I can see that. Right. So we need to make sure, you know, that all stays up. But he went to Chandler had outstanding warrants and cases and stuff like that. And they went boom. He told the judge what was all about, what happened in his life. Judge said, fine, case dismissed. So it's also about that part. Right. His Facebook is what, Hesher Herring or something like that. I think HESHERHERRING. Most people find Vic the good boss, but he's one of the periphery guys, and he helps Vic. We need to bring people in like that and talk to the people that are in there. And you don't want it to seem like the Hare Krishnas and the Moonies and the extremists, evangelists coming in and forcing you to their church or whatever it is. Right. But they need to. That's where you're gonna earn your money. Well, because it's like an NGO, but it's not an NGO. It's looser. Like on the street, it's looser than an NGO would probably be. And it's just the people that that are part of it are more real than your average NGO person coming in. So that will be one of the things you want to do. You want people like Chandler and Vic to visit your cities. I don't know if I think Seattle's outside of where they're operating right now. Right. They're mostly, they try to do the Northeast, Massachusetts is their base, but they'll go to LA. They've gone to Kensington. Well, because Chandler is the best one I've seen yet as far as explaining. Say, look, it was in my mind. He didn't say it, but he's essentially saying it was in my mind, dude. I made it something that that really held me back. So again, the idea is when they're not, are they ready yet? I find in what I see, it's not if they're ready. It's have they been tortured more than their fear. I think that's really what it is. It's not whether they're ready or not. It's have they been tortured sufficiently to counter their panic and their fear. Has the homeless condition, the unhoused condition, tortured them sufficiently? For Chandler, he was just really missing his children or child. I can't remember how many children he had. So for him, that's what pushed. He's like, I want to get back to my kids. I mean, he had the discomfort of that lifestyle, but he's a pretty resilient dude. So I don't think it's if they're ready or not. So again, this puts it in a different psychological analysis. I don't think it's if whether they're ready or not. Question is, have they been tortured enough to counter their panic, fear, PTSD? So again, and I think Chandler is articulating that when he spoke to certain people. He's saying, look, you know, you're ready. He doesn't force people, but he says, look, you're the idea of you not being ready is up in the mind. Right. But again, it is a sensitive situation because we're dealing with people with panic attacks, PTSD, all types of disorders that if you try to force them, you then create trauma around a program that you don't want trauma. You want them to feel comfortable, happy. Again, that's what I'm saying about these homes, the happy place for them. It needs to be the happy place. It needs to be the retirement center. What happens past that is neither here nor there. If we do it right, they will automatically come off of narcotics. Now, the problem is we have to treat the panic and the PTSD, and I'm not a big fan of psychotropic drugs because some people, you give them psychotropic drugs, they grab a knife, they kill the person next to them, they end up in jail for the rest of their life. Especially if they were ever a cop or a military dude. I think the minds are wired different. So the aftercare is very important, and that includes giving them peace, giving them purpose. With the Walmart concept in mind, they could even be a greeter or whatever a greeter equivalent is in that world that you're running there at the tiny homes. Well, there's nothing wrong with everybody grabbing. Hey, if you instill pride in that community they live in, nothing wrong with saying, "Hey, let's all grab brooms." You grab a rake, you grab a broom, you grab a bag, police call, because what you're doing there, you have to do it and enter into it the right way. But you say, "Hey, we're going to keep this place so that they can never shut it down." Like you now they have a vested interest. Because it's about you now, but it's also about the next 100,000 people that are going to need to stay here. So we got to keep it for them. All right, stay peaceful. Praise God in all that you do. Praise God.